Hello guys, how are you doing and welcome back to the channel. Barrage, as you guys are probably aware of, have been added as a hardpoint and control map into the Black Ops 6 Ranked to Play map pool, and today we're going to be going through how to manipulate, control and read spawns within hardpoint itself. So if you're playing Barrage and you're like, I have no idea what's going on, I have no idea where the enemies are spawning, I have no idea how to win more and win by more, then today's video is going to be for you. We're going to try and keep it simple. I know sometimes this can be a little bit complex because it spawns and it's a very complicated system. I'm going to try and make it as easy as possible. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can Discord me, you can Twitter me, you can leave a comment down below. Whatever you want to do is absolutely fine, because I'm sure there will be questions. Now, moving into P1, I've got some callouts here to hopefully help you guys out on where things normally are. And for those of you who are new to the channel, and maybe this is your first spawn guide you've seen on the channel, I'm just going to quickly talk about what the different things mean, because I know there's a lot happening in this diagram. So you've got the rings, like this one, these three here. They are the spawn locations. These are potential spawn locations. You can see here there are 5 main areas in which players spawn. You then have shaded areas of a color relating to a ring. These are where, or suggested areas where you can block that spawn from, but we're going to discuss it a little bit more. And of course, a detailed PDF version of this will be down in the Ranked Play guide below. Find the Barrage map guide in the contents, go to that page and you'll find this all written out in the description, which might help as well. It means you can have it up on your iPad, on your second monitor as you are playing. So the 2 main spawns here are pink and blue, which is just behind the nest and one behind the Jeep. If neither team are pushed up, these will continue to be the main spawns. Teal is the alternative spawn to blue when it's blocked, and yellow is the alternative spawn to pink when pink is blocked. Red is used when pink, blue, teal are all blocked. Now, yellow, is only really used when a team has control of P5 area, blocking blue, yellow, and teal and red, obviously, but are also slightly pushed through P1. Okay, so that's the only reason you'd use that yellow spawn. Now, blocking, right? Pink and yellow can both be blocked by having someone around blue, back blue towards the nest around this P4 zone here. That will essentially block the pink and yellow spawns. Blue can be blocked by having someone pushed past P1. So having someone from this team pushed past P1, whether they're in the medic area, whether they're pushed up to the tower, that will stop the enemy from spawning blue. Now, teal can be blocked by being pushed up towards the tower and somewhat further, but you've got to be careful. If you push even further, you might also block this red spawn, which can cause a flip the other side. So you can block this side over here by basically being sort of sat back a little bit more defensively. If you want to block blue to spawn the enemy even further out towards these, you've got to be in the sort of past P1 area. So you not only run to P1, you run past P1, and then you block these closer spawns and maybe spawn them at teal or red, but that just gets them that little bit further away from the objective. Now, to hopefully make this a little bit more easier, we're going to be going through some scenarios. So let's say you spawn blue or pink and your team were already spawning there. It means you're just your normal spawn. There's nothing to worry about. It's just standard run-of-the-mill stuff. And when your spawn changes, that's when in your head you'll be going, what's caused me to change? My teammates just spawned somewhere where I haven't spawned. What's caused that spawn to change? That's when you should be considering when you think about spawns. Now, if you spawn blue or pink and your team were spawning on the other side, it means the enemy have pushed all the way through P1, flanking to flip the spawns, okay? So that's why you'd have flipped in that situation. Now, specifically here, if you spawn teal, that means the enemy has control of the pink area of the map and are slightly pushed through P1. They're blocking this and they're blocking blue, so you've spawned teal. If you spawn red, it means the enemy has control of pink area, blocking these 2 spawns, but are pushed towards the tower, blocking both the teal and blue spawn. Now, if you happen to spawn yellow, it means the enemy has has complete control of this P5, blocking all 3 of these spawns, and they're pushed slightly through P1, blocking this initial red push, pink push, resulting in your spawn all the way back here. Now, strategically, you ideally want to retain the pink spawns because it's easier to have and have the enemy spawn teal, because it's the easiest way to defend P1. This makes it easier to rotate to P2 and set up most effectively for P2. Now, in order for this to happen, your teammates need to be blocking pink, so pulled back a little bit back from P1, and you also have to have someone, at least one person, pushed up towards this medic area, maybe towards the gate sort of zone, making them spawn the further 2 spawns, and that's P1. Here's an example of where not having someone blocked in the pink zone can cause a flip. So in this scenario, red team pushes up, gets all the kills, and because they have no one blocking the back spawn here, player number 2, who they've just killed, ends up spawning in behind them. What then happens is player number 7, who spawns after player number 2, then spawns here, because player number 2 is now blocking these pink spawns. Now what happens? The flip ensues. Blue team end up spawning back here because of where player number 7's positioned, and it makes the flip happen. Not because the blue team have necessarily flanked and tried to flip the spawns, but simply because the red team have not had anyone blocking these spawns, enabling the blue team to spawn all the way back there. Now, in a situation where you have number 7 and number 2 both waiting to spawn, and you've only got these 3 and these 2 players left, if one of these red players were pulled back a little bit further towards maybe this barrel or towards the lorry or something like that, the blue person would have continued to spawn all the way out over here, and then the red team would have spawned in anyway. So it's really imperative, if you want to keep these back spawns, you need someone to, when the enemy dies, you need someone to pull back a little bit and just be that defense blocker towards this red side, this right hand side. Now P2 looks a little scrappy. It's a little bit like a Christmas tree at the bottom here. The main spawns without pressure from either team are pink and blue as normal. Teal's the alternative spawn to blue, and yellow's is pink's alternative. Very easy to block all of the 4 spawns I've just mentioned: teal, blue, pink, and yellow, which we'll see in a second, which is when it comes to spawning either orange or red. Now, when teal, blue, pink, and yellow are all blocked, the game will look to spawn the next player in at the furthest point away from their enemy's team. That's the logic. Feel free to go over that. That's as simply as I could put it. I'm going to repeat it a little bit slower. When all 4 of teal, blue, pink, and yellow spawns are blocked, the game will look to spawn whoever next spawns in at the furthest one out of this one or this one away from the enemy team. Okay, got a little bit of a diagram to help out in a second. Blocking wise, if you want to block pink, you just have to be pushed up onto or around P2. To block blue, you need to do the same but the other side. To block yellow spawns, you need to be pushed slightly past P2 towards this hop-up area. You don't even need to be over it, you just need to be pushed under that hop-up area. That'll be close enough to block the yellow spawn. And if you want to block teal, you need to be pushed up towards the flag tent zone around this area to block this teal zone. Okay, otherwise that spawn will remain open. Now, if you want to block orange specifically and spawn the enemy red, you need to ensure you have someone pulled back closer to the orange spawn. Then the furthest player pushed up is towards the red spawn. Okay, that will enable the red spawn to keep open, and the enemy will spawn there. Now, if you want to block the red spawn, it's the same way around. If you want to block red, it's essentially the same. You want to have someone closer to red, then you have someone pushed up closer to orange. Okay, so whoever's pushed up to block these 2 spawns has to be further away from whoever's trying to block this red spawn, maybe back here, and that will stop the enemy from spawning here, and they'll continue to spawn orange. Now, again, let's take some scenarios. Let's put this in the real world situation. If you spawn blue or pink, it simply means the enemy are all on the other side of P2, but have little pressure on P2 itself. Now, if you spawn teal, it means the enemy has control of the pink zone, but they are slightly pushed around or past P2. If you spawn yellow, it means the enemy has control of flag area and have put a little bit of pressure around P2. If you spawn orange, it means the enemy has control of the flag area and someone on the other team is pushed close to red than the person who's blocking the flag spawn to the orange spawn, which way you've just spawned. If you spawn red, pretty much the same as orange, but the other way around. It means the enemies are pushed past P2, maybe towards the hop-up, and they have someone closer to their orange spawns than the person who's blocking the yellow and pink spawns, maybe towards the hop-up, is to the red. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, strategy, there's no real beneficial spawn here. I think both spawns are fairly equal, but leaning towards the pink side because it's better entry point towards P2. I think the pink spawn's probably a little bit better because the access to P2 can be done through blue, through the hop-up, or through alley, whereas the blue side spawns, you've pretty much funneled into this sort of area here. So I think I prefer the pink spawns anyway. You really want to manipulate the spawns here, and an ideal setup would be to have someone on hill, getting the time, someone pushed up towards the flag, whilst you also have a teammate pulled back a little bit, blocking the red spawn. That'll essentially spawn the enemy orange and enable a really hard to break objective. So here's an example of where we have this player's just spawned in, but we have player number 2 and number 4 blocking the pink and yellow spawn we just saw. Player number 3 is close enough to orange that player number 6 hasn't spawned orange. Okay, so because of player number 2 and pushed up, but not enough to block red, player number 6 has spawned here because it's deemed the safest spawn for number 6 to spawn. This red spawn back here is closer, is further away to these 2 players than this spawn is to this player, and that's made that one the safe one to spawn at. Player number 6 as a result spawn there. P3. I know it's getting 10 minutes already. I'm trying to get through this without watching paint dry. But P3, the 2 main spawns are pink and blue. Yellow is used when both blue and pink are blocked, and then orange is used when the other 3 are all blocked. You can block blue by being between blue and P3. So being in this sort of area here will block the blue spawn. Pink can be blocked by being in P3 itself. Really easy to block this pink spawn. Yellow is also blockable by being in P3, but you have to be roots, which is this little island area, towards this left-hand side of P3. If you're just sort of sat in P3 back here, you will not be blocking yellow. You have to be a little bit pushed through towards this backside door to block both pink and yellow spawns. And as I said, if the team from blue has someone around the blue zone pushed into the pink 3 side, the other team will spawn gate and likely flood through middle, allowing the other two players on the team to basically pick them off. So I'm gonna go into a little bit of detail in a minute on how you can get the enemy to spawn gate, which is probably what you want to do. But run through some scenarios here. If you spawn blue, it means the enemy simply have control of the P5 side here and have not really pushed through P3. If you spawn pink, it means the enemy have control of P4 side towards this right and have little pressure on P3 at all. If you spawn yellow, it means the enemy has control of the P4 side again, but they've applied some pressure towards P3 or in P3. And then finally, if you spawn orange, it means the enemy has control of the nest area or the P4 zone and are pushed through towards root side of P3, blocking these 2 and this spawn, meaning that's why you've spawned there. Strategy wise, spawn in blue whilst the enemy spawns orange is probably the most ideal situation, as it focuses the enemy team push through P1, meaning you can have players just watch that push. This will allow the other 2 members. So in order to obtain that situation, you need someone blocking blue and blocking yellow. So this person could be on hill, maybe here, blocking these 2 spawns, and someone blocking blue can just be sat in the nest, maybe watching them mid push or watching the right flank, something like that. And then the other 2 players can be maybe sat top blue, they can be sat in a P1 corner, making sure that anyone who comes off the gate spawn through middle to get to P3 are just shot in the back or shot in the side. Are really easy picks for them to through middle. P4, the main 2 spawns here, as I said, as normal, are pink and blue. Pink has a ton of alternative spawn spots around the yellow area, and you have to be quite deep in order to block these spots fully. And then obviously teal is the alternative spawn for blue. Now you can block pink by being pushed through alley around this sort of region towards P3 and P4 here, or towards P3 or past P4, sorry. You can then block yellow by being pretty much in the spawn itself, past nest, past P4, into radio. That sort of region will block yellow completely. You can block blue by being in view of it, obviously. So if you're around P2 and you're in the tent area, you can obviously block it from that perspective. But you can also block blue, interestingly, by being in the blue building or push through towards the medic area here. This little medic corner here will also block blue spawns. Now, if you spawn pink, again, we're going to take some scenarios to hopefully this is an easy way to, I think, to remember it. If you spawn pink, it means the enemy are coming from the flag area and they have little pressure towards P4 itself. If you spawn yellow, it means the enemy is coming from the flag area again, but they have got a little bit more pressure towards P4. They've perhaps managed to get around towards alley. Maybe they've got through middle a little bit, and as a result, you're spawning yellow. Now, if you spawn blue, it means the enemy has radio control, like this sort of side of the map, and maybe around P4, perhaps. Now, if you spawn teal, you're in trouble. Teal means the enemy has radio control area, and they're pushed through up towards the P1 and maybe P2 zone, blocking the blue spawn as well, resulting in you spawning teal, which is a real bad situation to be in. Now, on this hill, you need to remember that radio spawns can be really sticky. You really have to have this area cleared if you're breaking it from the blue side. You really need to make sure you're pushing all the way through into radio to make sure the enemy team can't just keep spawning there if you want those spawns blocked. Now, ideally, you want the enemy spawning teal whilst you're spawning over here. And as I say, in order to have that situation occur, you want someone on P4 itself, someone blocking the back spawns, and the other 2 players pretty much running wild maybe in P2, maybe around P1, making sure that this blue spawn is also blocked, cause the enemy to spawn all the way out at the gate. The 2 roaming players can then just get most of the kills. When they die, the players on the hill then move up to replace them, and when they spawn back in, they can replace them on the objective or the block. Yeah, easy peasy. He says. Now P5 is a really interesting objective, actually. This is a really interesting hill, and I've got a diagram to hopefully help go through this, or a situation to help go through this in a second. The 2 main spawns, Shock, are pink and blue. However, pretty much any pressure onto P5 will block both of the spawns. Now teal is the alternative spawn to blue, and yellow is the alternative spawn to pink. Orange spawns are utilized when all 4 of the other spawns are blocked, and it's a safe spawn. It's like a back out, get out of jail free sort of spawn to make sure that if the enemy's got control of a lot of this map, that's where the game's going to spawn you, because it's the safest one to do so. Now you can block pink by being pushed up past P3 around this sort of area. You can block blue, or obviously if you flank as well, that'll do it. If you're in sight of a spawn, or obviously that will also do it, and that occurs to any spawn I've said in today's video. But you can block blue by being pushed up slightly through P5. You can actually be on P5 blocking blue as well, which makes this left-hand side spawn really, really important. You can block teal by being pushed all the way towards P3. So as soon as you get past sort of this rock area around this roots, you can block teal as well as blue. So let's take some scenarios here. So if you spawn pink, what does it mean? It means the enemies are coming from P3, but have little map control towards P5 itself. Okay, fairly easy. If you spawn yellow, however, again, it means the enemy's coming from P3, but they've got a little bit more map control now. They're pushed maybe onto P5, maybe towards roots, but they've got a little bit more pressure, so you need to be a little bit more cautious coming off the spawn when you spawn in this palm area. If you spawn blue, it means the enemy has the palm side of the map control, so they're probably already on P5, but they aren't pushed past it at all, keeping this blue spawn open. Now, if you spawn teal, it means, again, the enemy has this left-hand side palm control of the map. They've probably got those spawns and have started to push through P5 itself, causing this blue spawn to be blocked. Now, if you spawn orange, again, you're in trouble. Thankfully, the map's small, so you can flank if you need to, but spawning orange essentially means the enemy has palm P5 control, and they've pushed nearly all the way up to P3. So when you're spawning rugs, have your wits about you, because you're likely going to come into an enemy around P3, maybe sat in P1 or around towards the pit. There's going to be an enemy somewhere, otherwise you would have just spawned at one of these 2 other spawn locations. Strategically, goes without saying, it's better having these left-hand spawns here. Rotate early, try and get these spawns early on, and ideally you want the enemy to be spawning orange. For this to happen, you need to rotate early to palm spawns, as I said, and then ensure you have someone on your team on P5, blocking the palm spawns, and then someone pushed up towards P3, being that really annoying player, both blocking the spawns and cutting off any enemies coming from rug. The player blocking the back spawns can maybe just watch the pinch in case someone from rugs decides to go round, but that's the best setup I think we could have on this map. And here's just an example of how easy it is to get the enemy to spawn rugs. Your blue team, player number 2 is blocking the back spawns because of where they're positioned on the hill. Player number 1, strangely enough, isn't pulled back far at all, but because of how sensitive these spawns are on this hill, player number 1 is pulled back far enough to block both teal and blue spawn, leaving the only other spawn left open, number 6, spawned in, and that's that rug spawn. So that's as easy as it is to block the blue and teal spawns. You literally have to be just at this root island here, and that's that. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing grind in the near future, of course. I hope you found it useful. Let me know if you have any questions down below. And I will be doing a hardpoint setup guide, so best way to hold each hill, best way to block an area like that, for you guys to share with your teams. But yeah, share this with your mates, let them know how to block spawns, let them know how to manipulate spawns, and hopefully in your format you're going to be able to win by even more now when you load into Barrage Hardpoint. That'll do for me. Ciao for now.